Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Own Your Essence podcast, where we get to have deep transformational conversations with our favorite people. We are your host
Lee Walzak.
and April DeMille. And today we have a special lady with us. She is someone that we are connected to by community, but someone that I think Lee and I can both fairly say we would consider her a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So today it is our pleasure to introduce Elena Gorley of Celebrate Your Life. She is a licensed social worker, clinical hypnotherapist, certified National Guild of Hypnotist instructor, past life regressionist, human design reader, psychic medium, and spiritual guide. She is also a best-selling author of Blessed by Death and specializes in hypnotic healing and past life regression with over 20 years of mental health experience. Her customized sessions help with trauma, anxiety, phobias, addiction, stress, and more.
Wow. She
Yeah.
sounds like a magical lady with like a book of cool shit.
With a lot of cool
She's got
stuff.
like all the cool things going on. So, hey, lady.
Hello.
Hello. We just
Hey.
got done introducing you. Lee read off your
Yay.
whole freaking book of all these fabulous things that you do.
I know. It's been an uphill battle of owning all of it and just saying it all because it plays a piece in who I am and what I do. So I've tried to take things out and I'm like, it just doesn't feel right when I take things out. So thank you for
Yeah.
reading it all.
Well,
Yeah.
and I agree that like if you're taking anything out, you're just kind of watering things down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all a part of who you are and what you do. So I think it's important that it's said too.
Yes.
So you originally, though, Elena, started in the mental health realm of things, correct?
Yes, that is where I started in just a plain old social worker and got my master's in social work with a concentration in mental health and have had a lot of different types of jobs within that realm, mostly as a therapist, inpatient, Jerry Psych, and some medical social work, among a few other things in there too. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the guest we had last week was also in the mental health realm of things, so it seems to be
Oh
somewhat of a common
yeah,
thread.
she's a therapist.
Yeah. So I'm interested though how you kind of go, if you can give us a brief synopsis, because I'm sure
hmm
there's probably multiple different layers and dimensionalities to this, but how you go from working in, the mental health realm of things, and I think you actually still do, but then
hmm
how you uh, sort of, veer off into this other work,
yeah.
hypnotherapist and psychic medium and all the other amazing things that you do.
Yeah, but it's a good question because I am different than most therapists. So I am a licensed therapist. So I do that as that's the main focus. So helping
That's
people
your
f
is that your Muggle world job? Is
No,
that what she
I've
said?
incorporated all together.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so I do technically have a little bit of a muggle job where I take insurance, but I have incorporated all of those aspects into the services that I mostly offer. So the majority of my business are fully integrated sessions where I have incorporated my mental health and clinical knowledge with human design, with intuitive sessions, with past life regression, with clinical hypnotherapy, because even just a couple years into being a therapist, I was like, this is not effective. Like, talk therapy can only get you so far. And I'm kind of a root cause kind of person, whether it's medical issues or mental health issues. I want to know what's going on underneath the surface. So, hypnotherapy allows us to get into the subconscious and even get into repressed or unconscious memories. So, a lot of our behavior, a lot of our issues come because of things that we've tucked away, whether it's memories, emotions, trauma, the hard things that have happened to us. If we haven't fully processed it, then we can tuck it into places in our body and it comes out in anger, anxiety, abandonment issues, all of those fun things that we all deal with at times.
Yeah. No, and I love that. Like well, and it comes out in other ways too, like illness and autoimmune
Yes.
disorders and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I get a lot of people with chronic health conditions, so migraines, chronic stomach issues, um, where they've tried all the things and they finally realize, like, okay, there has to be a mental and emotional piece to this. So
Mhm.
we go in and we just ask the body, what message are you trying to send? Because I do believe that it's a message that our body is trying to send. And I always say it'll give us a nudge, then maybe a little push, and then it'll just like kick us in the butt if we're not
Yeah.
fully listening.
Big chaotic tower moments if we don't
Yes.
catch on. Yeah.
Yes,
I
Yeah.
call it the two
absolutely.
by four. You know, you get the two
Yes.
by four.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had a few of those moments throughout my life. So I get it. There's never any judgment if
Yeah.
it leads to that because, yeah, I get it. But I'm glad that I have a different perspective and can help people in that other realm too.
No, but I also like that you kind of talk about the difference between talk therapy and getting in there and figuring out what's really going on because I actually said this on our last interview. I have a therapist and love the guy to death. Love him to pieces. He's fun, he's great. I love talking to him. But I only have to see him once, maybe once a year, once every few months,
Mm-hmm.
something. It's as needed as a soundboard
Mm-hmm.
because that's really all I feel like therapy has done for me is be a soundboard. Like I already know what I need,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I just need to hear it mirrored back to me. I need to get it, vocalize it, and get it out of me. But I already know what I'm after, and I feel like there's a difference between a therapist and coaches and people who get in there and really do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I do struggle a bit because I have definitely come across coaches that, maybe, there's a code of ethics. I spent years getting my master's. I'm required to do continuing education. I'm
Hmm.
required to continue my licensing upkeep, which I feel like can go either way, where if there's oversight, then there's limits placed on that. But if there's no oversight, then that means that anybody can do it. And so, I can see the pros and cons to both
Yeah,
sides of those. And that's kind of why I've incorporated both into my sessions because I see the cons, but I also see the value in both types of sessions.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely.
I think that's brilliant though that you are able to incorporate and integrate both because like you're saying, when there is no oversight, sometimes that does become a bit of an issue. And I even see it as a psychic medium because anyone can label themselves a psychic medium,
Yep.
which is great and fine. And it can also come with this added sort of element of I have, personally witnessed things that I just don't resonate with, or that I feel like I, as a medium, would not say to a grieving person, or something
Hmm.
like that. So the oversight can be helpful, and I think it's actually wonderful that you're uh, kind of mixing both worlds because I
Hmm.
think we need more of that and more of that understanding of the energetic piece to things, and also yeah, combining it and integrating it with something like therapy or
Hmm.
whatever it might be.
Yeah, I agree. And I've definitely run into a few issues over the years of being also in the metaphysical and spiritual world of the legit snake oil salesman. They might have a smidge of gifts, um, or they had gifts and they got kind of pulled back from them. I've kind of witnessed it happen in different ways over the years because I've been in this world for a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, okay, you're a fraud. But there's nobody to report to. There's nobody other than the word of mouth of like, hey, this person is dangerous, please don't go to them, please don't support their events or whatever it is that they're doing. It's that inner um accountability that I think we can do at times too. So
And have you experienced where people do the same thing to you, where like they have, because I feel like even in our last interview, we had this conversation too, where she had experienced people being like, oh, you're not a real psychic medium, or you're not a real
oh
therapist if
yeah.
you're a psychic medium, and
Uh-huh.
all the woo-woo bullshit that goes with that. So I'm curious how much that you've had to endure some of that too.
Nobody has said that to my face.
Well,
I'm
that's good.
sure, yeah, I'm kind of scary if you I have this very like kind, nurturing side of me. And then I've also been told more times than I can count how intimidating I am.
Oh, girl,
So
me too. I've heard it all.
yeah, I think that the right people who can benefit from the type of services I offer feel the kind, nurturing, compassionate side of me, and the people who I'm not meant for maybe just are like, yeah, I'm going to steer clear of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, I know even just me personally, it has been hard to unlearn some of the rigidity, some of the it has to be this way in order to be a therapist, a licensed social worker, whatever it might be, and really just know how little we actually understand as humans, and that so much of what I offer is just heart connection. If I can connect from my heart, then we're going to get way further than if I'm just up in my brain spouting off clinical information. So I don't
Yeah.
let that bother me too much, but it is definitely something that I think about, that I have a smidge of worry about at times.
Yeah. And do you run into that, especially around like insurance and codes and all the things like that? Like, is that kind of where you find that there's more limits and stuff like in the clinical side of things?
Yeah, definitely on the clinical side of, insurance-based clients, then we are doing CBT.
Yeah.
We are doing, the guided meditation. We are doing guided imagery, mindfulness, because those are all research-based clinical practices
Right.
that are approved by insurances. So, I'm not doing a medium reading over there.
Right.
Clinical hypnotherapy is also an approved modality. So, I'm not doing past life regression with insurance clients, but I can do the clinical hypnotherapy when we're working on anxiety, depression, trauma, all of those kinds of things, chronic conditions. So,
So is Reiki, I feel like Reiki's been added to insurance in the last couple of years as well. Is that something that I feel like that's a new thing?
I don't think so. I think that there are places like the Cleveland Clinic, those other big kind of facilities that are incorporating Reiki
Okay.
into like cancer treatments and things like that. So I think we're
Okay.
heading in that direction.
Right.
But for right now, no, like energy work, Reiki, none of that is approved by
Yeah.
insurances.
Okay. I think the one that I read was, I mean, it was still, 2 or 3 years ago, and they were
Mhm.
still new trying to figure out how to code it and
Yeah.
all the things. So yeah.
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 And maybe there's one insurance company out there that is. I don't have
Yeah.
any experience with that
Again,
piece.
it's so new that
Yeah.
to insurance world anyway,
Hmm.
that yeah, but I'm glad that at least hypnotherapy is
Yes.
one of the ones that that is covered. So
Yeah, because it is so effective. And
yeah.
so I'm just, yeah, but it's been around for a long time. So we've been able to prove how effective it is. So,
So one thing that I wanted to ask you about too that I think is so fucking important for the work you do is is the fact that you have been blessed by death, right?
yeah.
So, and I know that that's a journey that you and I both share together. But when I had first lost my daughter in 2012, I remember everybody around me. I was in California at the time and I wasn't around family or anything, but the people I was around, they were constantly trying to get me to like go talk to someone, go talk to a grief counselor, go do these things, right? And I was like, I don't want to fucking talk to anybody. Like
Hmm.
I didn't even know what to say yet. But when I did decide to go ahead and follow those avenues, I was more disappointed
Hmm.
than had I just worked on it myself because what I ran into was all these credentialed therapists and grief practitioners that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about at all because they
Hmm.
had no clue what I was actually going through.
Yeah.
So maybe they had the formal education, maybe they had a book to look at, but they didn't actually know what I was walking through at all. And it actually was more painful and traumatic for my experience
Hmm.
by running into people like that.
Yeah. And this is where the therapy and coaching integration is so key
Yeah.
and where I feel like clinicians miss the mark because I believe, in grad school, you're taught never talk about yourself. You need to be a blank slate, and they need to be, like you were saying, the sounding board. They shouldn't know anything about you, and all of those kinds of things. But I've also watched the climate change where now you have to be a brand.
Yeah.
So it's also what people are. What they want to. But with coaching, it is so much about personal experience and using that to inform how you help people. And
Right.
so because I have had the as many losses as I've had and also the traumatic losses and a loss by suicide and a loss of a college boyfriend and being with two people when they died and then my son dying, um, each of those experiences shifted and changed me in ways that make me who I am today. And so when I can share pieces of that with my clients appropriately, with boundaries, in a way that I use to teach and to actually like fully get it, but also understand that everybody has their own personal experience with it, it makes all the difference in the world.
It does. And that's actually what threw me into this as well, was because I saw a need. I
Mm-hmm.
saw how much more I suffered in my process because even the so-called professionals couldn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a need and I was like, this is not good. This
Mm-hmm.
nobody should ever go through something so fucking devastating and traumatic as alone as I did. And the fact that I'm still alive today and I didn't commit suicide and I didn't do all the things and just that alone is just it that's astonishing really.
Mm-hmm.
But it still set the tone for me to step into my role too because that's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's definitely a need for people to be heard and witnessed and have relation, right? Having people to relate to. And I've actually had coaching clients say to me in word for word, I feel like in this moment, I need you to tell me how this experience has affected you.
Mm-hmm.
I've had them say, I need to hear this from you.
Yeah.
And I go, okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like there was definitely somewhere that, maybe the ball got dropped somewhere and maybe that works for some people, but it doesn't work for all.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Blessed by Death, speaking of, is the title of the book that you
Yes.
authored, correct? Um, and I do love that title. It's
Mm-hmm.
very eye-catching and it makes
Mm-hmm.
you pause for a second in a good way. And I am curious, you kind of just touched on it a little bit, I think, but I am curious to ask what exactly that phrase means to you, blessed by death.
Yeah, yeah. So the full title is Blessed by Death, A Grief Journey from Pain and Sadness to Peace and Sacredness. And
Mhm.
so what I did in the book was share the story of 8 people that I've loved and lost, some animals that I've loved and lost, and death through birth. And what I kind of came to in the aftermath of my son's death was a self review, a life review. And as I looked back, I realized that there were so many death of self moments that happened because of these huge life altering circumstances that had happened to me. And they happened to everybody. I just happened to have had a little more quantity, a little more traumatic, a little, yes, a little more dramatic. And it's not in comparison, it's just my particular path. And so as I looked back, I saw all of these death of self moments. And by that, I talk about a death of perfectionism, a death of not asking for help, a death of holding myself back from laughter, a death of um, feeling like I had to prove myself to other people. So each person, each animal, each experience with my births showed me a different thing that I was ready to let go of. So I talk about the death of self. And when I talk about those stories and look at them, I really saw the blessings and the lessons that I learned from each of those experiences as well. And so that's where the blessed by death comes in, because it's not in that like, yeehaw, everything happens for a reason kind of tone. It's more of the, okay, this happened. What kind of meaning can I find and make from this? How can I grow as a person? How can my soul evolve? And how can I help others? So I share that. And then I also share the tools and practices that each person, each death, um, also show me along the way and helping me to transmute the grief from just that soul crushing grief into more of finding that place of peace and finding the sacredness in this journey that we call life.
Yeah, that's amazing. I kind of want to take it back for a second to the
Sure.
yeehaw part of
Yeah.
things.
I don't know
Uh,
where that came from. I don't know if I've ever
I
said
like it.
yeehaw before.
You
I,
must have been channeling the Texas energy over
Yeah.
here.
yeah, yeah, you're channeling
Yeah.
April's Texan
Yeah.
energy.
That's
Must be.
hilarious.
That's so funny.
I was curious to take it back to that for a moment though, because you do come across that, sometimes
Hmm.
where people, and I like to think that people are well intentioned when they say
Yes.
something like this. But oh, well, everything happens for a reason. But I'm curious through your perspective, why that always might not be the most helpful thing to hear in the moment, because in my
Mm.
experience as well, it's not the most helpful thing to
No.
hear in a traumatic experience, right? So as doing the work you do and as a therapist and all of the amazing things that you do, I'd be curious for your insight about that.
Yeah, I mean, my hackles raise when people say that is kind of a, off the cuff thing. And I think you're right that most people are trying to say that is a form of comfort because they don't know what to say. And honestly, at this point, I am more pleased when people try to say something versus the people that I've had that have just chosen to say nothing at all or completely drop me from their life.
Oh,
So
I'm so
I
the opposite, girl. We will have to come back to that.
will circle back.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because I've talked to other people who kind of have indicated the same thing, April. So, and it depends on the moment and the day and where
That's
I'm
true
at
too. There's
in my
factors.
mindset.
There's
Yes. Yes.
factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's because the reason that I feel like it's not helpful is because it, to me, feels very condescending,
Yeah.
feels very dismissive, and feels very like placating. So instead of people being willing to sit with the emotions, sit with the darkness, honor that we're allowed to have feelings, that we're allowed to have dark thoughts and feelings when something terrible happens. They want to just like brush it under the rug. They want to shush it away. And for me, most of my life was spent being told I was too much.
Yep.
That's enough. Stop being emotional. I'll give you something to cry about. Like, something happens, then we just pretend like it never happened. And I'm
Yep.
just not down with that anymore. And so
Mhm.
that phrase in general feels more like though that tone than actually just being willing to go there with people in true connection.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think, like you said, I think it might come down to too whether people realize this consciously or not is another question, but
Hmm.
that in their own lives, they're so used to pushing their own maybe emotions under the rug.
Yeah.
And no judgment in saying this, because I think we've all been there probably at a certain point where we're doing that. But I think some people maybe are so deeply entrenched in the pattern that they're not consciously seeing it. So my point being though that they're doing it in their own personal lives with themselves. So that's what they know how to do when speaking to somebody else who is in the midst of a traumatic, grief-stricken experience.
Hmm.
Slap a
Yeah.
band-aid on it. Slap a
Yes.
band-aid on it and be like, yeah. I mean, I do know, and this could be, I don't, claircognizance, the psychic stuff, I don't really give a fuck what you want to call it. I still have a knowing that we do all go through these experiences for a reason.
Hmm.
But is that the best way to present that in
Yes. Exactly.
in
In
the
the moment.
moment?
Hmm.
No, not always. Like, because if someone had sat with me, well, again, I had different insight. So when my daughter died, I understood.
Hmm.
Even though it fucking sucked and I
Yes.
wanted to rip my fucking face off and everybody else's too, I still had a different insight. Not
Hmm.
everybody has the ability to access that insight
Yeah.
or have that foresight from the beginning, right? So for me, I understood the mission. I understood the reason. I still do, right? Like I
Hmm.
get it. Does it mean it sucked less because I get it? No,
No,
not at
no,
all.
no.
No.
And that's what I think right away I knew that it did happen for a reason. Same thing. It's that inner knowing, but it's not the placating. And
Right.
so I knew that. And I can still remember. So he died on December 6th, and we celebrated Christmas. We always celebrate Christmas with my dad's side of the family early so that it's done and over with before Christmas Day. So it was only a couple weeks after. And I remember driving home because I had, I kept it together for the whole day and driving home, just pressing my face against the cold window because it's December in Pennsylvania and just sobbing and in my head saying, I know I signed up for this, but I don't want this. I know I signed up for this, but I don't want this because I do understand that we have soul contracts, that it did happen for a reason, even though we're talking about how much we hate that, that it did help. It was helping my soul to evolve in a certain way, that he had a path and I had my role in that. And that it wasn't really about me per se. Um, so I could hold all of that to be true and be, sobbing and sick and, wanting to die myself. So,
I think it speaks to the dichotomy as well of the human experience and the soul experience. So on a soul level, and it's funny because spirit has kind of given me these impressions before. I don't know if you've experienced something similar, but when we're in the soul state, before we're ready to incarnate, we're in such a peaceful place that everything kind of seems like, oh yeah, I can do that.
yeah.
Like I can,
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
we'll,
Yeah.
we'll meet up down there and you'll help me and I'll help you. And then you're going to go through a lot of grief, but it's okay because we're going to meet. And,
It's
so
okay because we're high as fucking stupid. So dumb.
it's a totally, from what I understand through spirit, it's a totally different state of being,
Hmm.
where we're in our energy form, whatever you want to call it. So I think what you're saying does speak to the dichotomy of that, though, that,
Yeah.
in our humanness, when we're actually here and we're physical and we're experiencing the grief, it can be, tremendously painful.
Hmm.
Um, and I think on that note too, leaning back sometimes into the idea that we are souls and that
Hmm.
we are, I think can be helpful. But I do agree with you as well that somebody using that phrase specifically to kind of placate or, you know, uh, tell you in such a way that like, oh, this is too much for me, that I
Yeah.
don't find helpful personally myself. But leaning into the idea that we are souls having a human experience, I think it can have its own catharsis. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's how I found past life regression. So my brother died 17 years ago and he died by suicide and I had had just very limited experience and then I had my clinical experience and then when that happened it really really rocked my world. Losing my brother in general did, but in that way had an added layer of anger and stigma and all of these other things that went along with it. And finding past life regression shortly after that really shifted things for me because I was able to tap into kind of a couple pieces of that where I was able to see and go back to that in between times where there was the unconditional love, where there was the peace, where we were surrounded by the ascended masters and angels and guides and these other souls that we do life with. And going there myself was so healing. And then also realizing that I've known my brother before, I'll get to see him again, brought a sense of peace that I didn't have before that. Because growing up Catholic, it was like, well, you die by suicide, then you're going to hell. It's a mortal sin. And that never sat right with me anyways. But then when I had the personal experience, I was like, no, that's not how this works.
Not true.
So that's something that I love being able to give to people is going into the in between time. So we go back to the past life, we go through the practical things of the life, we go into the death, and then we go to the light. And when we go to the light, that's when we go to that place of peace and unconditional love and deeper understanding. So getting to go there with other people too is also beneficial for me. So,
Well, and I think it's because you're walking a path where you can help navigate some of that for someone that doesn't know how to harness
mhm.
those powers themselves yet.
Yeah.
And again, I'm like, there's an emphasis on people like us. We got lucky with death because we did already have such a privilege
Hmm.
in our own abilities and how we already had them accessed and tapped into that we knew that the soul was safe. We knew that those
Yeah.
souls had their own mission that they had to complete, and we had to step into ours too. And so that did change things for us in the way we looked at death.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think too, speaking to what you said, Alena, about past life regression, why some of these modalities are so powerful for people, whether it's past life regression or mediumship or whatever it is. I think just having this knowing for each one of us personally, whatever that looks like, that, we do go on and we do see these people that we have lost again. I mean, I've even witnessed it so much in my work where it can really completely transform somebody and
Hmm.
in the way that they're viewing the world and their filters and all the things, right? And it can be so tremendously healing.
Hmm.
So I like that you spoke about that too, how something like past life regression could lead you to this idea of, it helped me understand that like I've been with my brother's soul before and I will see
Hmm.
him again. And
Mhm.
I can imagine that that would be very healing in a way that other modalities, maybe like talk therapy, and I'm not, putting down talk therapy or anything,
Hmm.
but in a way that other modalities they might not be able to touch those areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I write about this in my book, but a couple years ago, so I have my husband is wonderful. We'll be married 21 years this year,
Wow.
together 22. And people are always like, "How did you get so lucky?" And my joke is, it's taken many lifetimes for us to get it this right. And so over the years, I've done my own past life regressions. And one time, it was years ago, I set the intention of how had I known my husband before. And in that lifetime, we were married, we were husband and wife, because sometimes you can be different dynamics. And we had two children. And our house was kind of right along this waterway. In certain times of year, the water would be higher. And two of our children actually fell into the water and died. And in that lifetime, we turned away from each other. We pulled out of the community. I saw me going to the bedroom and just kind of withering away and dying, him going to his study, doing the same. And it was kind of like, oh, that, wow, that was pretty intense, but not really kind of going any further with it. And then when Bodhi died, I was like, that memory, that past life came back to me, was like, oh, turn towards each other. Let
Yeah.
the community love you and support you through this. And it is a practice because I am toxically independent and I don't ever like to ask for help or accept help. And so, part of him dying and in the way he did and the medical expenses and my physical injuries and just the emotions of it and everything, it was pretty big. And so people did want to support us in a lot of ways. And so, that coming back to me and remembering like, no, 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 allow this. This is you letting other people be there for you too. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. So there's so many ways that past lives can help us with those kinds of things too.
Yeah. No, I like that because it's like your cell memory was like, oh, we've done this before. But
Yes.
this time we get to tell a different fucking story.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And within that, there's empowerment too. Just
Mm-hmm.
the idea of like, I get to tell a different story feels empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot with yourself or clients or whatever it might be that there are recurrent, excuse me, themes, from past lives that then show up again in our present lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a lot of the reason that people will come to me. They either have repeating relationship issues or repeating patterns of behavior or abandonment issues and or a pain in an area that they can't explain. And so whenever we do the past lives, we can set the intention of looking at because in this lifetime that you've it feels like we learn the same lessons over and over and we go deeper and deeper with that particular lesson. That also happens with past lives where we learn bits and pieces of that particular lesson and then we reincarnate again and go deeper with those lessons. And so it's really fascinating to be able to tie that together for people where they start to see, oh, yes, that's what happened in that lifetime. And now I can do things differently now, or move in a different path or direction, make different choices. But we have to bring it to awareness. We have to bring it out of the subconscious or unconscious into our present awareness. And that's what hypnotherapy does. It's what past life regression does as well.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating too, because I think if we as a world even were to look more at things like that, like, past lives or whatever it might be, it could give us so much substantial information
Mm-hmm.
about potentially, why we do the things that we do or why we feel stuck in certain patterns. And then to be able to transmute that, and
Mm-hmm.
heal it and move forward in our present existence.
Yeah. And I think too, for me it gave me permission to be in the present moment and know that I don't have to get it exactly right, because I often think of that. So if I think of people who think we only get one shot at this, I'm like, wow, I have really messed up this life. If this is all I get, holy crap,
Right.
have I wasted a lot of time? And so there was a piece in that too of like, oh, okay, I'm going to do my best, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to
Yeah.
get it all. I don't have to, do every single thing that I think I need to do. Not as a way to like settle back and, those kinds of things, but just to take the pressure off a little
Well,
bit
and
too.
just the acceptance of knowing there's no wrong answer. There's
Correct.
no such
Yes.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like
Yep.
you said, that is such a relieving, comforting statement. Like that's not even real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of my favorite phrases to say is what is meant for me will always find me.
Absolutely.
Because I had such stress. Did I, missed out on this or, wrong place, wrong time kind of idea. I had put so much pressure on myself. And,
Yeah.
sometimes we do take that very windy route to that particular thing. And sometimes if we get out of our own way, because usually it's us getting on our own way, we can have more of a straight path to what is meant for us.
Yeah. Like
So, but there's no wrong.
there's a little less resistance when
Yes.
we step out of our way. But I agree with you. What's meant for us is always going to find us because
Hmm.
we will always attract what we're creating. We
Hmm.
always will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Hmm. So, how long have you been doing your podcast? I know I'm just kind of switching gears here, but um,
Um, that's a good question. So the podcast started because I started putting on an expo in my town, and my town is very, very small and very, very conservative. And so it actually started as just interviewing my vendors on Facebook so that people could see us ahead of time, get to know us, realize that we're weird, but we're not like dangerous. So that was how it started. And that would have been so 2021 when Bodhi died. I was just like, you know what? I'm just doing everything that I want to do. And so one of the things that I'd been wanting to do for years was put on an expo. And a lady that was not from my town tried to come in, and I was like, oh, hell no. And so then that really gave me the kick in the butt. So that would have been 2022. So it started with those interviews. I think the podcast didn't become official until 23. Because then I was
okay.
like, well, these are great. And other people might be interested in hearing people's stories too. And so then that's when I went to where it goes out on all podcast platforms. So,
Yeah. So you've been doing it a couple years.
yes.
Yeah. That's good. That's
Yeah,
really
it's
good.
fun. It's like my guilty pleasure because I make zero money off of it. It costs me a lot of money, but it fills me up because I absolutely love getting to have an hour with people. Like, yes, I get that in sessions, but it's a different type of
It's
conversation.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely different.
Hmm.
You're sitting with people's energy, I think, in a different way as
Yeah.
well.
Well, you're
Yes.
not working either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm never not working.
Well, right.
I was just in California we stayed with my cousin and her daughter, and then we met up with two other cousins that live in Southern California, and we stayed at a hotel in Burbank, and we're sitting at dinner, and I started pulling people's human design charts. And so they were all like, "Oh, sorry for making you work." And I was like, "Ah, this is fun work." So
Ooh, a human design. So what kind of what design are you?
I am a 5-1 emotional generator with a left angle cross of the alpha.
Okay. So I'm a generator. I don't know
Hmm.
all the
All the
stuff
other
because I don't have,
doodaddies.
well, I just don't have my chart in front of me, but I also
Yeah.
don't like I'm not a guru with it. So
Yes.
I'm a generator, but I think what was it? It was emotional something. I don't know.
Yeah. Emotional would be your authority, if that's
But
what
and
it.
then I had what was it? There's 9 activation centers. 9, is that 8 or 9?
Your energy centers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so 8 of mine are activated. There's only one
Oh,
that
yeah. Me
wasn't.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I only have my crown is the only one that's undefined.
So my throat was the only one
Ah,
undefined.
okay.
Yeah,
Lee, do you know
so
yours?
I do. I'm a manifesting generator.
that's
Oh,
what my
okay.
kids are. Two of my kids are
Yeah.
that, and then I've got a
Yeah.
projector kid.
Me too. I got two Manny Gens and one projector, and my husband is a straight manifester. So I've
Ah,
got a little bit of everybody, and I know six reflectors. They're 1% of the population, and I know six personally.
I've
Isn't that
never met a
wild?
reflector, but I
Yeah.
will tell you when it comes to my kids, the two that are manifesting generators, those kids can get whatever they want. Like I've seen them
Oh, yeah.
manifest the shit they want so fast.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, it's taken me like 20 years to get one thing I want. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
And then these two can just roll up and be like, oh, I want that. And they'll have it in like 2 days. And I'm like, fuck you guys. This is not
Hmm.
fair.
Well, also, to be fair, they haven't been conditioned out of it. So,
True.
my husband and I
True.
and our 9-year-old all have the channel and gate for serendipity. So, it's like right place, right time, like
Right.
amazing manifester. My husband and I are not so great at it, but I'm pretty good. He's a manifester, so he should be way better, but he was so conditioned out of
Yeah.
being a manifester. So, we're really working on that with him
I
right
do
now.
know that I always get what I want.
Hmm.
I am
It
not,
takes.
I know, but it takes me longer. And I think
Mhm.
it's because of my conditioning too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my 9-year-old man, he's just like, nope, I'm gonna get all the candy. We went to a Halloween trick or treat, and one of the guys told him, if you're last in line, I will give you all of the candy. And so he was like, we're gonna be last in line. I'm like, this is playing a dangerous game. Like other people could run out. So he got two full bags of candy from that guy because we were at the end, another truck had just random toys. They had one skateboard. He got the freaking skateboard. So,
My
like,
goodness.
he made out, but stuff happens to him everywhere he goes. He always gets the best deal. He gets stuff for free. I mean, it's wild. So,
Look at
So,
him.
yeah.
so real quick too, just for anyone that is listening to this who might not have any idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's
You,
true. Sorry.
you,
I get so excited.
No, it's
no, it's
good
totally
stuff.
fun. Um, but can you just give us a brief synopsis? Because me and April know what it is,
Yes.
but
Yes.
of what human design actually is.
Yes. So the human design is a very, very, very detailed chart that brings in the 64 genetic codons, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and some pieces of astrology. Essentially, what it does is it tells us how we operate in the world, but also how the world views us. And it also shows us the things that we're here to learn about, our shadow sides, our gift, our highest expression. And it helps us out with decision making. It helps us with being in alignment with our energies. So, like April and I, as generators, we can go, 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 go. Um,
Forever.
Forever. And both of us, if you only have your throat undefined, we both have four motor centers, but the risk is burnout,
Burnout. Yep.
bitterness, because we're always the one there working after everybody else is
That
done.
one.
So each type has the gifts that they offer the world, and then the shadow of it. With the decision making, it might be through our emotions, it might be through our gut, it might be through our intuition, it might be through our mind. So for me in my sessions, even if somebody doesn't come for a human design reading, I still pull their chart because then I can use the right language for them. Because I'm not going to tell somebody who is sacral or mind, how do you feel about that? Because they're
Right.
going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know how I feel about that. So
Yeah.
it helps me use the right language in session with them too. So it has changed my entire life.
I love that you incorporate that piece too, to be mindful of how somebody
I
might just,
do too.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
that is really great. I got my first chart done with Lisa Thompson,
Oh yeah, I love Lisa.
and
too.
she did so I did a session with her, and she had gone through, what generator meant and all the things. And I will tell you, I sat there just like in awe because in those moments, I was like, yes, these are all the things I do. But what was funny is I was already intuitively
Mm-hmm.
um, honoring that these were the
Yes.
ways I functioned without even realizing I was doing it.
Yeah.
And so it was really insightful. It really was.
Yeah, so I do straight human design readings for people, and it's kind of a mix. So some people are very in tune and already doing a lot of the things, and it's validation. So even if they're doing it, sometimes they're still judging themselves, or other people
Mhm.
have judged them because they're different than their parents or different than other people. Like projectors, they're only 20% of the population, so they are often perceived as bad, wrong, other. So there's a lot that can go on with that. So a lot of it can be validation of like, yes,
Yeah.
you are living your design. And then there can be other pieces of it where it has been conditioned out of them. Like I said, with my husband, we've really been working on him honoring what it means to be a straight manifester and healing those wounds that come when you're not living in alignment. And so, yeah, it's really fascinating. And I think I freak people out sometimes because I just start telling them about themselves. They're like, this is so accurate. I'm like, I know, buckle up. So, yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And then I really get into the gene keys, which are the gates. So, Richard Rudd wrote additional information about each of the gates, and he goes into the shadow side, the gift, and the highest expression. And I use that a lot in hypnosis because if we've been in the shadow for a lot of it, it causes a lot of wounding. So we clear that out and let people step into their gift. So,
It's amazing.
I
I
know.
love
I'm sitting here going, girl, I need to come
yeah.
do a session with you.
Yes.
it. Yeah,
I need
seriously.
to come do a session with you for fun and just
Yeah.
see what comes up.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
So, did that make sense how I explained human design?
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it
mean,
Okay.
does for
I get it.
me. Yeah,
Okay.
like it does for
Yeah.
me.
Hopefully. I mean, they can always ask questions.
It's
Your listeners can always shoot me a message, always ask more
Speaking
questions
of
too.
that, where can our listeners find you easiest? I mean, we're going to have everything plugged
Yeah.
in, but if you want to go ahead and let them know how to find you.
Absolutely. Everything is Celebrate Every Step. So, website is Celebrate Every Step, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't post a lot on TikTok. I'm going to try to get better at posting more reels and just more teaching and things. They can also buy an author signed copy of my book from my website, or they can just buy it straight from Amazon. And there is paperback and Kindle versions. Audible will be coming down the line. Um, so those are the best ways to find me. I have the past life regression, I have the alchemizing grief sessions, I have the human design, and then I have the just hypnotic healing and therapeutic sessions that incorporate, therapy practices, practical boots on the ground kinds of things while tapping into the intuitive and um guidance from spirit team as well. And I will be offering, I last November, I went and got certified to certify other people in hypnosis. So I am going to be offering that. I think in July, I will start that and hopefully a retreat in November. I'm like trying to manifest this because I'm really nervous to offer a retreat, but I've wanted to forever and I don't know what's holding me back. So that's what I'm currently working through and my mind and energy of like, why am I scared to offer this retreat? Because I know it'll be amazing.
Oh, it'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 So basically, for anything that you might need in this realm of things,
Ever.
Yeah.
Elena is your
I
person.
know.
There's
Seriously.
there's
Yeah.
no shortage of magic tricks up her fucking sleeve at all.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I do think that every single person on earth could benefit from what I offer. I just
Yeah.
know that I'm not for everybody, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So there are certain people that are that like my style of doing things, and then for other people it is too much or it is too deep. And that's okay too. And I
Yeah,
just
our
know that
frequencies don't always align with
mhm,
everybody. Like I know Lee
yes.
and I both have to, we have moments like that where we run into people and we're not their cup of tea, vice versa. And it's just like, all
Hmm.
right, cool. It's
Hmm.
fine. It's just information.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I always trust
absolutely.
that whatever interaction I have with people is for my highest and greatest good and for their highest and greatest good. And even if it doesn't go any further than that, that's okay. I still believe that there's some type of soul evolution that happens. And I also appreciate when people honor their intuition and their gut
Yeah.
reactions to, who works and who doesn't. Even with expos, I always say, take a lap around. For me, for mine, listen to the interview, see who resonates with you, but feel it out, ask the questions, trust your instincts when you're choosing who to work with too.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's good. I think
100,000%.
that's good advice anyway, like when you're,
Hmm.
no matter who you're trying
Yes.
to work with. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also don't quit on yourself. That's one thing that I do see. I know this is hard work. I know that it can go to places that we don't always want to go to, but it is worth it. And when people quit on themselves, it really breaks my heart. So I feel like there's a difference in people, it not working with me in particular,
Yeah.
or just people quitting on themselves.
Yeah.
And I do, and again, I trust the divine timing that they will come back to it when they are ready for it. It's not a judgment,
Yeah.
but it does just hurt my heart when people pull back and don't want to keep doing their healing.
Yeah.
Does
Well,
that
and
make sense?
yeah, it does, but I
Okay.
can also understand it because some people just need a
Yes.
fucking break.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that shit's so fucking heavy that sometimes you just have to catch your breath
Yeah.
and no shame. Like
Yeah.
sometimes that
Absolutely.
you need that.
Yeah. And I always tell people too, because obviously you can tell that a lot of the work that I do is pretty deep. It goes, to places that aren't always comfortable. But I always say we can also just do a really nice hypnosis where you're just relaxing and letting it all go. And I'm, walking through, healing suggestions and positive suggestions and all of those kinds of things too. So it doesn't always have to be excavating the
Yeah.
deepest, darkest parts of ourselves.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
do you also offer remote sessions for
Yes.
okay.
Hmm. Yeah. So remote sessions can be done via Zoom. People sometimes prefer phone calls as well, but I do like to be able to see people. Yeah. So I have clients all over the world. So
Yeah.
I love technology.
Right?
Mm.
It is so good. Lee, do you have any other questions?
No, just thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all of your gifts and all of your wisdom and knowledge. Always love sitting down with you and
Yeah.
hearing whatever you have to say. So,
Yeah.
Girl, I'm
Thank you so
so
much for
glad
having
that
me.
you got to come on here with us. It's always like I feel like we've only got to talk a couple times, but it's always
Yeah.
just a pleasure to get to talk to you.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this so much because I do appreciate both of you so much. And Lee, you've helped me so much on my healing journey with some mediumship sessions. And so I was just really looking forward today too.
Yeah.
well,
Awesome.
thank you for saying that too. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Do you want to share about our connection, the way whenever Bodhi came through? Because I think that would be really cool for people to hear.
Oh
If
yeah.
if you're comfortable
Yeah,
with it, well,
absolutely.
you're bringing it up. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear that. People need to hear this.
yeah. So, I remember me and you were going to trade sessions.
Hmm.
I was going to do, I think the hypnotherapy, or not that matters, but uh, yeah, we did a
Yes.
hypnotherapy.
Hmm.
So, so anyway, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that we were supposed to do my session that night or this particular night. And I was driving around in the car, probably leaving the grocery store. April will get it. I'm always at the grocery store.
Yep.
Uh,
That's what you were doing for sure.
yeah. So probably leaving the grocery store. And I felt your son come in. And now I had already known that your son had passed,
Hmm.
just to be transparent. Like I knew you and your
Yeah.
son had passed. I didn't know all the details or anything, but there was some of that in my brain. But I did feel his presence come in, and I'm like, this is interesting. We're supposed to do my session tonight, but it was so strong that I do remember I had to pull over into the parking lot. I specifically remember it was like a bank parking lot, and I just hop on my phone and I'm like, I think your son is here, um, and what he showed me was so interesting because in my head I kept seeing him do what I thought was sign language. And I was like, I don't understand what you're trying to like, what does that mean? So I think I had asked you, I was like, would it make sense to you if
Hmm.
I said that or you teach your kids or however I put it, but
Yeah.
sign language. Because from what I remember, he was doing the sign language for I love you.
Hmm.
And you got back, and this was not something that I had ever known about you, but you were like, all my kids know sign language.
Yeah.
Uh, and I believe you had said, correct me if I'm wrong, but just, a few days prior, you were with your niece who was also doing sign language. So apparently that's
Yes.
a big theme. Uh,
Hmm.
and I believe you said you had kind of a moment, where you were watching her just again, like 2 days prior, or whatever,
Hmm.
do sign language, and then thinking to yourself, like, that there's that feeling of grief of
Yeah.
not being able to teach that to Bodhi, who is your son, and that he wouldn't get to experience that. So I think, and then obviously we sat down and other things came through, and other
Yeah.
things you might remember those parts better than I do, but I thought the sign language piece was a fantastic little nugget from spirit.
Yeah.
Because it validates too that not only are they still with you, but they're witnessing your experiences, and they're aware of your emotions, and
Hmm.
they know that you're hurting, and they're supporting you. And so many different things in one. And I just thought it was a brilliant way to connect that for you. And
Yeah.
hopefully, and I think so, but hopefully it was meaningful for you in that way too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. And I'd actually forgotten about the piece about my niece. And yeah, I think when you lose a child, there is kind of a like, oh, what could have been, what should have been kind of thing that happens. And, preschool sign up, birthdays, there can be all of these markers. But yeah, the signing,
Prom, weddings, like all
yes,
the
all
things.
the
You
things.
grieve all the things that you
Yep.
never get to do.
Yep, exactly. And
Yeah.
yeah, the sign language. So with my daughter, we did baby signing time and we were obsessed. And so she was the oldest grandchild. So then all of the other nieces and nephews also learned some of the sign language when before their verbal. And so, yeah, that was one of those things that, yeah, nobody would know that about us. But it was a big part of all of my kids' childhoods because we would read the books and watch the videos and practice, and they used it. So it was just an absolutely amazing
That's a
nod from
pretty,
spirit.
pretty big evidential piece right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
And if you know me, I'm all about the evidence piece. Like
yeah,
I get all into it. I'm like, I need the validation piece. But
yeah,
it's coming from a place of me wanting people to understand too, or offering it to them that like this is your loved one, and I'm not just pulling things out of thin air or whatever it is. So that
yeah.
piece is important to me. But especially, when it has a message like that, like,
Mhm.
Bodhi
Mhm.
did for you, if like I'm witnessing your life and I'm with you,
Yeah,
I just think it was a beautiful way to get that
yeah,
across.
it absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we could do that too.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Thank you guys for having me on. This was so
No,
lovely.
I know. Thank you for coming and for being willing to come and while we crash course our newbie stuff. So we're trying to figure it out, but I think we're liking it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when is it going to go live then?
I think we're still pre-recording a couple more in March and through April.
Okay.
And then we should be going live in May. So
Oh,
I think
nice.
we still have to figure out a couple pieces, like doing our intros and outros, like and stitching them. We're learning. We're still
Hmm.
learning all the things, but yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we're gonna drop in May.
And you're doing all that yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
we're doing all that.
Yeah, that's
The
that's why
phrase.
mine costs me so much money because I pay somebody to do all of that because I'm
Well,
like I don't have the brain space to learn how to do all those things.
we're
So,
trying. We're trying to do what we, I mean, I've got some friends. I was just saying this to Lee earlier. I've got some friends that drop their Zoom on the
yeah.
on the Spotify just like that, just raw.
Hmm.
So, I mean, no shame to anybody that's doing
Yeah.
it that way, but I think we wanted to go ahead and put all the pieces together. It was a learning experience for both of us, so
Hmm.
we were wanting to learn all the ins and outs that we could and see what we could make space for, and if we have to adjust, we will along the way.
Yeah, and I think now with podcasts being around for so long, I think listeners do have a certain expectation of
Yeah.
what they're listening to.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
What
I think that's
sounds,
good.
well, yeah, some people might think it sounds more professional or
Hmm.
however, but
Yeah.
yeah, so we're trying to pick up all the pieces that we can and move through it to see what we can we see how we can gain from this experience. So,
Yeah, good for you guys. I'm excited for you.
yeah, thank you. Thank
It'll
you.
be interesting.
Um, and also, we would love to have you on again sometime. Like you are just
Yeah.
such a magical lady anyway.
Oh, thank you.
You're always full of great energy and fun stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to do like a swap cast too,
Oh,
where I have you
yeah.
guys and we can put it on both of our feeds. I have a couple people that I do that with, and
Yeah.
it's nice because it's something, mixes it up a little bit for people too. So,
Oh, yeah. We could
yeah.
totally do
Love
that.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would love
That
that.
sounds good.
Okay, well, I'm
Awesome.
gonna stop the recording right here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell everybody bye. Bye, guys. We'll be back next time.